Actually, it's starting. Okay, so number 10, this has to do with trig. If you haven't figured that out, the trig hint is that it says 10 over to the side. So we have a B, an 8, and a 10, and a 7. Okay, all they want you to do here is actually less than normal. They want you to find 10A. Notice that they don't want you to find a degree. They didn't ask you for a degree of an angle. They didn't ask you for a length of the side. They want 10A. So you have to go to your reference sheet if you what does the 10 stand for? Okay, that is our tan formula, opposite over adjacent. So we now need to go over to our picture, and I'm going to grab my little lasso, and I'm going to circle the important angle. See, it says tan A. Oh my gosh, tan A must be the important angle, so I'm going to go over and circle my A. When you're doing the trig, the important angle is important for a reason. It decides what's opposite and what's adjacent. So looking at this picture, Haley, where's the opposite side? Yep, so we mark our 7 is opposite. I hope everybody knows by now where their hypotenuse is, and that leaves you for this one to be your adjacent because it's the one right next to the A. And take care of it. So now I can fill this in. So I'm going to have tan A equals, what's our opposite, Elijah? 7. And Britt, what's our adjacent? So that could be the answer, unless they ask for a decimal. And how would they ask for a decimal? Well, if it's multiple choice, or if they say give it as a decimal, you give it as a decimal. If they ask you for a fraction, there's your answer. So what is 7/8 as a decimal then? Okay, so Elijah, what was this one? Was 8 7? That's kind of weird that those numbers match, I think. That's kind of weird. So which angle in this problem would be considered the important angle if they say sine A? What do you think? Cool. Thanks for looking at me, Cole. Yes, it would be A, because it says sine A, so that's the important one. I need a formula for this. So what's the formula for sine? Elijah? Opposite over hypotenuse. So that's reading it right off your little chart. So what numbers are we going to, we need to mark our words, because I circled my important one. Tyler? Definitely, good job. Yep. Yep, it's true. If you've got all our words, again, the opposite is the one far, far away from your important angle. That's your opposite. Now you just got to write them down. And they're not going to, they could, it's a multiple choice test. So if they have a fraction, pick that 8 over 10. If they reduced it to 4/5, don't let that throw you off because it's the same fraction. Most likely they're going to have a decimal though. That's going to be 0.8. The sine A is 0.8, and you're done. Again, they're not asking you for a degree. It does not ask you to find the degree, so you get to stop right there. Have you do as you draw them, as I draw them right now. There's a right triangle up at the top, and there should have been also one here. If you can add that extra right triangle where the X was, there should be a right angle there. There should be 2 right ones. I just didn't write them when I drew the pictures. So the question is, do you have right, because nothing else is on the other 2. So between these 3 lines going up, that's where you're going to get your double up. Some of the people don't remember what double up means. It just means that that's the thing that shows up in your problem twice. It's going to show up in the numerator, and it's going to show up in the denominator. The middle one used what? Does anybody remember what the middle one went with? What numbers went with the middle one? Any of you remember? The middle one went with these. A slant went with like that. This is the middle one. So what numbers are going to go with it? Sure, which are? Correct. So the one that goes down the middle is going to use these 2 pieces. That's what we get, 8 and 10. If it's a slant, it's going to use the piece closest to it and the whole thing across the bottom. So we got to do this problem, and that's x squared equals 80. So I multiply, cross multiply like I'm supposed to when I have an equal sign. X times x is x squared. 8 times 10 is 80. You got to solve this by taking the square root of both sides. So x equals, that 80 can be broken down into 16 times 5. If you didn't know it was 16 times 5, you might have used 4 times 20. It would have just taken longer to get the answer. So that 16 comes out as what, Britt? And the 5 will get left inside. That's the best answer. I again left off another right angle in my haste to draw these. The right angle right down here. This one, you want to add that to your picture. So what's our proportion? What's the double up number in this one? Pedro, what do you think? It is, because again, it's one of these sides that's going up. In this problem, it's only the x's there. So I'm going to double that one up, write it twice. When it's a slant, which numbers are you going to be using, Cody? You're going to be using 7. Okay, oh, here's an example. See the slant, Cody? You're going to use the one closest and then the whole thing. So you're going to use 7 and what? Yes, 7 and 11. This is the whole thing. Now you can cross multiply and get your x squared and your 77. That one can't be broken down, so it's just x equals the square root of 77. So it doesn't require you to do any of the actual algebra. You just need to do just set it up. Figure it out before I get there. There's another right angle, and it's up here. I did not write it next to the letter N. There should be a right angle there. If you know what category you're in, if you know this is a double-up problem, you might know it's a double-up problem because there's two 90-degree angles. This maybe will give you a little hint. That means up here, there has to be something doubling up. Preston, what's doubling up here? What's in the problem twice? Right, so that's the double up they're even taken care of. So if I go over here and mark my double up in my picture, if I use that as my double up, that's going to help me figure out the rest. For some of you, having this thing upside down is a huge issue. It is one of the slants. And when you're doing the slants, you use the number that's closest and the whole thing. So what are the number? So I'm going to end up using this, which is NP. And what's the other piece that I'm going to use, Elijah? Okay. It's the one closest and the whole thing. Whole thing. You just need to use MP or PM, either one. You just got to go from one end to the other. When you did that, that's not the whole thing. Does that look like the whole thing? No. You got to remember that it's going to be the closest, which is that NP, it's the closest, and then the whole thing. That's the MP. And I'm not right. Again, I left off that 90-degree angle, and it will be on the test. There'll be a 90-degree angle that's up the top, and there'll be one in the midst of it all. So this problem already has a lot of letters in here for you. Hopefully you know you're doing something with a double up. Are any of these already doubled up? Macy, do you have any double ups already up here? No, so what does that mean? Very good, it sure does. NQ has to be double up. See it right there? NQ.